From humble beginnings to global luxury icon, Louis Vuitton's story is a testament to ambition and innovation. Join us as we uncover the extraordinary journey behind one of the world's most iconic fashion brands. Chapter 1. Humble Beginnings. In the year 1821, in Angers, France, Louis Vuitton was born. He grew up working on his family's farm in France, where there was no electricity or running water. Raised by his father, Xavier Vuitton, a farmer, and his mother Corinne, a hat maker, Louis did not receive formal primary education. During this time, France was recovering from the Napoleonic Wars. Many farmers, including his family, were bankrupt. Louis had no choice but to work on the family farm. From dawn till dusk, he harvested crops, raised animals, and chopped wood. In 1831, at the age of 10, life became even harder. His mother passed away, and his father remarried a woman who treated him cruelly, much like the stepmothers in fairy tales. By 1835, at the age of 13, Louis decided to escape to Paris, without money or food. During his journey, he found occasional work with artisans who taught him skills in working with metals, stone, and other materials. These temporary jobs would prove crucial later on. Despite finding these occasional jobs, he still couldn't afford a home of his own, and remained homeless, sleeping in forests with only a coat to shield him from the cold. It took him 3 years to reach the capital, gaining valuable experience in the trades he worked. Chapter 2. Arrival in Paris. During this time, the first railway to Paris was opened, making travel more accessible, and industry began to expand. Artisans capitalized on this by crafting custom-made boxes for aristocrats who needed to carry their artifacts on long journeys, as well as packing their possessions in a particular manner. Louis Vuitton found work through a successful box and packaging manufacturer named Monsieur Marechal, who hired him as an apprentice. There, he learned the craftsmanship of making custom boxes and trunks. By the age of 16, he had become a master craftsman, learning all about haute couture. His skill made him popular among Monsieur Marechal's clientele. In fact, in 1853, Empress Eugénie de Montijo, wife of Napoleon III, hired him as her personal box maker. This was a significant breakthrough in his career, transitioning from humble farm work to catering to royalty in France. In 1854, shortly after marrying at the age of 33, Louis Vuitton decided to venture out on his own from Monsieur Marechal. During this time, the trunks were rectangular and made of leather. Their lids were vaulted, and this prevented the water from wetting the leather. This design made it very difficult to pack the trunks. Louis began to experiment with different materials and discovered that canvas was lighter, more durable, and waterproof, allowing their trunks to have a flat lid. This made it possible to stack several trunks, pack them more efficiently, and allowed those who traveled to pack their belongings efficiently. And even though the waterproofing compounds made the color gray, it looked cleaner and more modern. Louis's new design marked the birth of modern luggage. He even created a Louis Vuitton catalog so customers could see the products available and order them before sending them home. After this design, Louis decided to implement something similar with bags, which were not well received at the time. He began to create them with the same canvas material, including trunks, became elegant and essential accessories among the elite. His clientele was international, receiving orders from members of the royalty of Egypt. Louis's biggest dream project in his life was to establish a workshop of leather bags, as he was passionate about the design of these items. Eventually, Louis, unable to handle everything, sought assistance from his son George. George's contributions helped him maintain prosperity, highlighted by the invention of a revolutionary trunk lock that transformed trunks into treasure chests, preventing theft and contributing to its practical, modern designs. In 1859, he hired a team of 20 artisans to help him meet his orders, and opened a new workshop on the surroundings of Paris. Just when it seemed that everything was improving, tragedy struck Louis Vuitton again. Chapter 3. Starting over. In 1870, the Franco-Prussian War broke out at 49 years of age, so he had to start over. For the second time in his history, Louis was homeless. Louis and his family were forced to leave their home, and their home in Angers. Supplies were scarce, and everyone feared for their lives. When the war ended, Louis returned home to find that all his materials had been stolen and destroyed. Instead of giving up, he used all of his savings to acquire a property. Because of the war, there were many empty stores available at very low prices to rent. Louis took advantage of this opportunity and bought a store in the exclusive neighborhood of Rue Scribe. It was the perfect place, as it was located near the train station and the Grand Hotel, making it easier for travelers to find the Louis Vuitton store without having to travel far. A few months after reopening the store, the business began to thrive again, and orders from around the world arrived. Louis believed he had to innovate and implement new designs. At that point, the technology was so advanced that it could print custom patterns on fabric. And like canvas is a fabric, Louis could create a line of trunks covered with a pattern of stripes. This new design was another new success for Louis as a designer. It allowed customers to give them a way to stand out and show that they were up to date. It also made it more difficult for counterfeiters to copy Louis' design. Over the next 20 years, he continued to work in his store in Paris until his death in 1892, the age of 70. Chapter 4. George Vuitton, forging the identity of Louis Vuitton. It was now up to George to take on his father's unfinished plans. George wasted no time in growing the business, and transformed the company into a multinational brand, and opened a popular store in London. Another one of his contributions was that he created the iconic LV monogram with the initials of his father, in honor of the founder and the brand. Customers did not expect this, as they were used to including their own names and initials on bags. But eventually, the new design was successful. From then on, George and his son Gaston followed in Louis' footsteps and created new designs. Among his most prominent designs are Keepall, Noé, a bag to carry wine and champagne, the Alma bag, a redesign of an original order from Coco Chanel, 1934. By that time, George had toured the United States and created a distribution network. Like his father, he was destined to take the business to new heights, but unfortunately his story repeated itself. He passed away, leaving Gaston to complete Louis' unfinished plans alone. Chapter 5. Gaston Vuitton, Adaptation and Controversy. Gaston had an unfortunate start. Second World War broke out, and contracts were cancelled. Gaston had no choice but to close Louis Vuitton's factories and stores. In Louis Vuitton, a French saga, author claims that Gaston was so desperate to survive that he collaborated with the ruling party of Germany. Allegedly, he greenlit the creation of commemorative busts and opened a store in Vichy. The author also asserts that, while stores like Van Cleef and Arpels closed, Louis Vuitton was the only one allowed to remain open. A spokesperson for Louis Vuitton later commented, "This is ancient history. We are diverse, tolerant, and everything a modern company should be." Chapter 6. Internal Chaos at Louis Vuitton. After the war ended, the company faced difficulties. Under his father's guidance, the sons ensured that new models of luggage were produced each year. But after Gaston's death, the business stagnated. Hard-sided luggage became less popular, and Gaston's three sons, Henry, Jacques, and Claude Vuitton, were divided on how to manage the company. They then asked their sister's husband, Henry Rackemeyer, who had business experience, to take over. By then, Henry had founded and sold a steel trading company with great profit. He had a keen business vision, and upon consuming control of Louis Vuitton, shifted the business model from wholesale to retail and tapped into the Asian market. Within 6 years, sales soared from $20 million to $260 million. It was then that Henry decided to list the company on the New York Stock Exchange. The company's shares sold out after 1 million shares were sold. 2 months later, Louis Vuitton stock prices began fluctuating, and analysts warned that sales could drop due to the increasing counterfeit products. Despite this, Henry decided to press ahead by opening stores worldwide. Years later, in 1987, Henry proved the analysts wrong. Louis Vuitton was a success, reaching $1 billion in sales, and merging with Moet Hennessy to form the luxury conglomerate LVMH. The merger aimed to combine resources and prevent external acquisition threats. Though the merger allowed Louis Vuitton to expand its investments, Henry and Alan Chevalier, president of Moet Hennessy, had a difficult relationship. Intent on regaining control, Henry invited successful real estate developer Bernard Arnault to ally with him, which Bernard accepted. Henry then realized Bernard had his own ambitions. Bernard secretly acquired 43% of Louis Vuitton's shares with Moet and Hennessy family support. Feeling betrayed, Henry took Bernard to court, demanding he reduce his control over Louis Vuitton. The courts ruled in Bernard's favor, leading Henry to leave Louis Vuitton completely. For the first time in its history, no one from the Vuitton family was involved in the company. After this drama, Louis Vuitton's sales began to decline. However, Bernard revitalized the company by collaborating with fashion designers during the collection centennial, such as Vivienne Westwood, Isaac Mizrahi, and Manolo Blahnik, who created handbags using LV's iconic monogram. At that time, these collaborations were little mentioned, and the handbags were also not something striking in the world of luxury brands. Despite this, the collaboration was well received and put LV back on the map. Chapter 7. The brand today. Today, Louis Vuitton continues to expand its brand with new colorful styles that appeal to a younger audience. In 1997, under the creative direction of Marc Jacobs, LV launched its first ready-to-wear line, designing the popular Vernis collection and collaborating with renowned artists such as Steven Sprouse and Takashi Murakami. Since then, the brand has expanded into watches, jewelry, and eyewear, in addition to continuing to launch iconic handbags. Marc Jacobs eventually left Louis Vuitton to create his own line of clothing and accessories. Louis Vuitton fiercely protects its brand, with a legal team to pursue copyright infringements and not hesitating to take legal action if it believes its brand is being copied. Currently, LV is the #1 fashion brand in the world, valued at $39 billion. Its stocks are among the most sought after on the stock exchange, and with over 400 stores worldwide, there is practically a store in every major city. This is the story of how a homeless child laid the foundations of a billion-dollar empire. What do you think of Louis Vuitton? Is it overrated or appropriately priced? Leave us your comment.